Alright, I have to say I quite like walking in the way. I'm Scottish, so maybe that's part of it. Actually, I shouldn't say Scottish. My grandmother always said, "You're Scots." Scottish is the wrong grammar. Anyway, I was looking on YouTube and there was absolutely every mess kit you could possibly imagine. Somebody done a video on it. Finnish, German, Swiss, Serbian, right? American, UK, British. Somebody done a vid on it, okay? But nobody had done one on the Australian mess kit, right? So dropped a little bit of a spoiler. It's going to be this video. A bit of going to be a little bit review hit. Australian kind of gear. I say I don't mind that kit. It's really one of the better kits out there. Really, it's better than the American mess kit. This is going to be a video. Just look at it. Anyway, I got a little again shot from the hip and all that kind of stuff. Got a little hobo stove, so I'm going to start a little fire and just take you through the kit and a little bit of the history behind it. Whoa! Oh shit! Okay, edit that bit out. Okay, rain, rain, go away, come again another day. That's another old saying of my grandmother's, okay? So I just took shelter in here, a little overhang. Alright, no tripod or anything, just all very ad hoc. So I've set myself up here, just gonna have a spot of lunch. I'm a bit low on coffee, I might not be able to have a brew. But we're gonna have a look at this guy, which is the Australian Army mess kit. Okay? Very similar to the British mess kit. Okay? We'll go into that, right? So back in the day of the Empire, okay, the British and all the Commonwealth countries, South Africa, Canada, Australia, India, obviously all the armies of those countries were equipped with the same equipment, right? The British Empire, they wanted all their troops to be compatible, right? So they all shot Enfield 303, had the same webbing system, had the same uniforms, okay? So the origin of this design was the British mess kit. 1930s it was introduced, alright, and that replaced another mess kit that the British Army used in the First World War, which is a little bit more elaborate, which was a little bit closer to the Swedish mess kit that you see is quite popular in bushcraft, okay? And the reason they changed it was a couple of things. Main one being that they knew that if there was going to be another war, they wanted to equip millions and millions of men, alright? So they wanted a mess kit that was very, very easy to produce, okay? And pretty much this is two pieces of metal that have been put in a press and stamped, alright? And then there's a couple of rivets and a handle, alright? So this is the slightly later edition. This is sort of Vietnam. This one's made about 1970. So this is the slightly later Australian version, okay? The original design from the 1930s that would have been the kind of Empire Commonwealth standard was slightly bigger, okay? It's about a quarter size bigger, and the handle configuration was a little bit different, okay? Probably they changed it, the Australians changed it for copyright maybe, but originally it was sort of a hinge on the lid, okay? And what happened during the Second World War with the original version of this that was a little bit bigger, weight was an issue, okay? You had guys carrying massive packs full of ammunition, mortar shells, batteries for radios, and they just cut away anything they did not need. So with the original ones that would have been, a lot, maybe about half an inch bigger, what the guys did is they got a hacksaw or whatever, and they cut off the lid, and they lost that bit, alright? So when they came eventually to revise the design and redesign it a little bit, they made it smaller, okay, so that it's lighter, okay? So the kit itself is made from aluminium, alright? I know some people don't like aluminium, but there isn't a stainless steel version available. Most of them seem to date from the 70s or the 60s. You can buy very, very similar things today, in hiking stores and stuff like that. Again, design came into use in about 1930s. It has its advantages and its disadvantages, this kit, right? It is relatively compact, okay. And again, you can put your brew kit in here, or you can put food in there, fire kit. You know, it slides into pouches really nice. It's nice that it's kind of square like that, it stows away. Unlike a billy can, which is round, it kind of like fits and nests nicely into a pack. Alright. For me, it works a little bit better on some kind of stove like that, hobo stove or emberlit or whatever you've got. Couple of different ways, because you can't suspend it. So if you've got an open fire, it's not impossible, but it's a little bit more difficult to work with. Okay, I usually use it with a hobo or something like that. Originally, they would have been used with those little hexamine type stoves you get, those little cheap disposable ones. They would have probably originally been used with that. Okay, and probably still are somewhere out there in the Australian Army, out in the bush. But I'm not a big fan of those hexamine stoves, so generally I'll use a wood stove. Of course, the other thing about mess kits is you've got to understand is that they were really multi-purpose. Okay, they were for soldiers. They go out in the field, the soldiers would heat up their rations, okay, like sea rations or whatever. Quite often the British just had Frey and Bentis pies or bully beef or that kind of thing. So basically just heating up rations, and then when you got out to a field kitchen, you'd have this in your hand and you'd have a cup, and they would like that, slop it on, Irish stew or whatever. Alright, and you might have a bit of a dessert in there, do you know what I mean? Spotted dick or whatever like that. So mess kits are kind of designed to be dual function, designed to feed a lot of people in a line really fast, okay, and then also just to heat up a little bit of rations in the field. Okay, so this, for me, this one suits more day type, going out in a day type thing, where you're not concerned about fuel usage because you don't really have a lid. Well, you can do this, but for, I have to say, for $10, less than $10, this was $8, it's worth a try. Alright, the design is a little bit quirky because if you don't hold these things, they tend to do this. Alright, so you know, not a perfect design, I have to say, but for, again, for $8, this is what this, you know, you would expect to pay. Pretty good. Alright, you get them salvos, you know, military surplus, just a variation on the British design. Anyway, I'll fire up this little stove and we'll get it started. You know, I've tried the American mess kit. I have to say I'm not a big fan. I think this is a better design. It's more ergonomic, simpler. Okay, obviously it's more, I'm in Australia, so this is plentiful. The American mess kit is rather hard to find, and I've tried the German, Swedish style mess kit, which is very good, but it is more bulky. Alright, and that's also, that's another consideration. I mean, it depends what you would try to do, but for a long term thing, if you were going to go and I was going to be staying in this little cave, you know, for a few weeks or whatever, obviously if you were going to, you know, think about water sterilisation, a billy can is going to be much better. You know, the capacity in these, you know, is like a litre. Do you know what I mean? And that one's even less. So probably a billy can or the German mess type thing, if you're going to be in the bush for an extended period, would work better. For me, this is just out on a hike type thing. Anyway, I'll fire up this little stove. I'll cook my lunch and I'll just take some shots of it in action, you know what I mean? Okay, so cooking away. Alright, so this is Vietnam era kind of thing. This is the Australian version of the British mess kit. It's generally referred to as the dixe tin. I don't use that word myself, but people who are watching this would, a lot of the people who would watch this would call it that. So that's my hobo stove. Cooking away fine, nothing wrong with that. The design flaw with this guy would be that is a little bit awkward. Once you're holding it, it's fine. When you let it go, it can be a little bit awkward. You know, I think for a little day hike paired with a gas stove or a wood burning stove, it's a really good bit of kit. It's not for every situation, but again, for $8, $9, $10, gets you out there, gets you cooking in the bush. You know what I mean? I mean, this whole kit, you know, would have cost $18 Oh no, wait, sorry, that canteen cup would be 10, yeah, 18 bucks roughly to get that for a little setup like this. The thing I like about it is when you finish cooking, you just hold the handle and you eat out of it. It's quite, it's better that way than a billy can. Where a billy can, if you try and eat out of a billy can, I don't know, it just doesn't really do it for me. It's a little bit uncouth or awkward. You can use the lid as a plate with a billy can, but I don't like to eat out of them. Anyway, this pasta's nearly ready. Oh, in case you're wondering, I found the fox skull. But there you go. And again, the nice thing is you can hold it, eat out of it like that. It's quite comfortable. So the Dixie tin, or Australian mess kit. Again, I could make myself a coffee on that, but it's a bit low on the coffee, so I'll give that a pass. But I'll get stuck into this guy. So there you go, done the job.